Hello. An 18-year-old Boston University student and a young lady leaped from 35 feet up in the air down onto an icy driveway. Here we have another photo with a building across the street. This at 87 Linden Street. A 22-year-old Boston University student died in this fire. She was burned to death. This is video 1 of 10. The video 1 is about the dangers of off-campus housing. Now this is for parents. Let's go back to the original picture. This one here. He was 18 years old, 35 feet down he jumped. It was 7 a.m. in the morning. It was January, and there were 14 illegal apartments in this particular building. This building had 3 floors of fire. There were 3 floors of fire, 7 a.m., 40 to 50 firefighters were on the scene. Now, if this was 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, there would have been some dead bodies. This is another picture of one of the floors. And some of these pictures are from the BFD archives. Someone broke the girl's fall, and the man in the boxer shorts ran over and pulled the young man away from the flames coming out from the building. This is the man. His name is Josh Goldenberg. He was in a coma for nearly 2 weeks, and he spent 3 months at a Spalding rehab. He landed on a 35 on an icy sidewalk. Someone pulled in a pair of boxer shorts, pulled him away from the flames. In addition to that, he and all his other students were sued by the insurance company of the building next door. Why wasn't the owner of who owned this building sued? I can't figure that one out. Let's go back to the other. This one right here, the 22-year-old Boston University student. She was burned to death in this attic apartment. It was 6:30 in the morning. She woke up to the smoke. She ran to the door, pulled it open, and there was fire in the corridor. It was up in the illegal attic where all the apartments were. Her screams woke up the people in the other rooms. Now this building where the young lady died, these 7 people, they made a video with the bostnglobe.com/spotlight, the 7-minute video. This is 1 week before they complained about all the terrible conditions under which they were living. And this is the young lady, I'm afraid. She's the one that was burned to death. This is the video, the bostnglobe.com/spotlight. It's a 7-minute video. You should download them. I'll tell you what some of the conditions are under which these people live. I'm very familiar with these. It's gone on for years. 6 people who lived up in that attic at that particular morning. 1 burned to death. 5 of them climbed out windows. Take a look at all that fire up in there. And there was an empty apartment up there. There were no exits. 15 of 16 students. They lost everything. The Boston Globe conducted a 9-month investigation into the slum landlords into the Boston area. Now this building was at 87 Linden Street, and in the 90s, the Boston Globe made a comment that there was a fire. Well, I had that particular fire. And this is the building. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. I came up this exit, and I could see the people leaving the building, collecting what's left. Everything all is pretty burnt out. I always used to take plenty of pictures. So, as you can see, there's a wide and big exit there for them to leave. Someone probably knows those people. Now, I couldn't find the fire report for 87 Linden Street, but I did find a fire report at 110 Linden Street. Fire reports are made out when you have a fire. And on this, there's probably about 80 pieces of equipment on these particular blocks. This fire was at about 11:15 at night. We took out 37 people from the building. There were 17 apartments. It was quite crowded. And this part of the report said we had about 24 pieces of equipment there, all kinds of engine companies, ladder companies, and inspectors, and so on. 4 firefighters were injured, taken to the hospital. The gas and utility was on the scene. The department photographer for legal problems for the pictures, miscellaneous inspectors. A lot of people respond. And of course, this is the names of the people that were taken out and the apartments that they lived in. And it was this. This is the building that she lived in. Now, give you an idea, there are other fire reports. We all have them. This is only just a few of the fire reports over the years. Almost 30 years experience. And here's the young lady. Let me show you rather her mother. Now, at 9 o'clock that night, she arrived by bus into the Boston area. Someone from the caller said, "Look, we can't find your daughter. We think she's still in the building." Yeah, she was. By that time, of course, we had gone through it, and all you can do is pick up bones, if there is that. Many times there isn't. This is the anniversary of her daughter's death. She put all those flowers out and candy. Then she left for about a half an hour to pick up some roses. And she came back, it was all gone. No one wanted it. Don't want that, our neighborhood. You think so? I suppose the mother remembers when she called her on the phone and said, Mom, I have an apartment. She said to her, Ben Lynn, will you be safe? Oh yes, Mom, I'll be safe. They decided, the family, to sue the landlord, make a suit. The prosecutors said there were no charges in the fire that killed the student, that killed her daughter. None. These are a few of the things that were not working in these buildings. The electricity had been turned off because the owner didn't pay the bill. Along with the gas, that was turned off because she didn't pay the bill. That means it's cold. The burner was cracked, so they had a couple of weeks, they had to repair that. There was no heat there. The kitchen plugs, they were always being flickered. The dishwasher broke down a number of times. She was saying she was fined $3,000 for because of trash in the area. A repairman entered one of the women's rooms and walked into her bedroom, grabbed her breasts and her buttocks, and she screamed when he tried to kiss her. This is only a few of the problems. The stairs to the apartment, they had taken stairs out, they put a room into it. There were no exits for many of the buildings, in that particular building. There were explosions. Those explosions were carbon monoxide explosions. By the way, that was 2013. In 2014, there was a fire at this particular address here, and 54 people were displaced, and among them were 8 Boston University students, and they used 150 firefighters. This was September the 4th, 2014. There were 54 people displaced, 8 BU students. Again, 150 firefighters. You know, you use that many when you have like a 62-story building, like the John Hancock or the Prudential. That's 52 stories. That's when you're going to use an awful lot of firefighters like that. Or if you have a huge manufacturing building, you'll use 150 firefighters. Here there were 3 buildings. It was the middle of the night. Would have had some burned building. There's a lot of fire in those places. The drapes burning. The drapes burning. The cheap drapes they put up. The curtains burn. You know, they're very flimsy. The rugs, they're made out of plastic. The pillows, foam rubber pillows, they go up just like that. And the couches, polyurethane couches, boom. Cheap building material, cheap wiring. Like I told you about the polyurethane couches. These burned at 1,500 degrees. Some of the clothing is flammable. You should look up on the internet about polyurethane couches and pillows and mattresses and stuff like that, particularly for the different chemicals in it. Might as well continue on with students. Here we have some students up in Portland, Maine. It was Halloween, 2014 this year. A young man, student, leaped out from the second floor. He was on fire. There were 5 other students on that second floor. They burned to death also. 8 students were taken to the hospital. You can get this on the internet. Check it out with the fire in Portland, Maine. Contents that's burned. There were issues with that building also for a couple of years. So here we have come up with 45 students off campus housing. 38 were hospitalized. The next time, and plus you put the other 8 students, that brings you up to 46 students. Again, if this was in the middle of the night, there would have been a lot of dead bodies. Just believe me on this. And this was at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, after all of these problems, the city of Boston tried to send out city inspectors in all of these places just because of that report by the Bostn Globe. So August the 2nd, 2015, they arrived at different places. And this is one particular one. These are what they found. This place was at Chester Street. I know where that is, yeah. Very congested. A lot of students in that area. So the inspectors found that the window sash was broken in this particular building, and the window didn't work. There were stains in the ceiling on the second floor, which meant that there was a leak because the ceiling was all wet. The stove, there was no stove in the kitchen, and the kitchen fan was full of grease. There was rat infestation out front. In fact, there were 12 rat holes. Now, the fire escape, that's considered unsafe. As for the 2 decks, you put 10 or 15 on each deck, it's going to crash, right? Would you want your son or daughter on those? There was an unsuitable fire escape. There were over 30 violations in this place. There were 2 illegal basements in the cellar. There were blocked exits, and there were wrong-sized windows. These are only just a few of the problems in there, but it passed. The students are living in there.